Managing your calendar does not have to be so hard, especially if you're leveraging no-code tools to help you along the way. In this video, I want to show you how to integrate Calendly, an incredible scheduling application, and connect that with your SmartSuite account so that you can work inside of SmartSuite and see all the information about your upcoming schedule that you need. If that's of interest, stick around and let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth and I'm the owner here at Gap Consulting. It's our mission to help you get organized and automated with no-code tools. And one of our favorite no-code tools is SmartSuite, which we will be using in today's video, along with Make for some magical automations and Calendly for some scheduling applications. So I know we're stringing together a lot of software here, but what we are working on building is incredibly important to so many different businesses. So it's going to definitely resonate with you and keep you on track, allowing you to do more with less. But before we get into the heart of the video, first want to invite you to join me for some free training. No-code automation allows you to take your work to the next level. If you're not already leveraging this amazing technology, I've put together this training to teach you the fundamentals of no-code automation so that you can start understanding how to build more applications for yourself that run in the background. Just like the one I'm going to demonstrate here, but I'm going to break down in this training all the fundamental building blocks of automation so that you can get automating faster. Check out that training at gapconsulting.io/webinar-registration. You'll find that wherever you found this video. But without further ado, let's hop on into my screen. I want to invite you to follow along with me, open up your own Calendly, open up your own Make, and open up your own SmartSuite. If you don't already have those accounts, you can grab free trials using our links below. Let's go ahead and hop on in and take a look at our SmartSuite setup. I have nothing built here yet. All I have is a brand new solution, and I've named it Calendly Example. I'm going to flip into Calendly now, and I'm adding a new event. I've called this Test Event. You'll notice that I've chosen the location to be Zoom, and I don't have anything really fancy going on here. Nothing crazy, nothing outlandish. It's a simple event for 30 minutes of duration, and that's it. I'm going to create this event now. And on the next screen, I'll be able to view the live page. So here is the actual event inside of my website. I could embed this if I wanted to. I could share this with people. And of course, they could then hop on my calendar. Now, the amazing thing about Calendly, if you've never used it before, Calendly will allow you to, in fact, sync up with your actual calendar. So I'm traveling this week. I have no availability. Even though you can see today as of filming is October 6th, Calendly knows that it can't put anything on my calendar because I've blocked out that time. I'm traveling again. So down here at the end of the month, no availability. So you'll see that Calendly is a really amazing tool because when you share your link, you don't have to do all this back and forth and say, hey, I can make this day. Can you make this work? There's none of that noise. It's just, here's my availability. If you wanna hop on my calendar, we're gonna get going. We're gonna have a meeting, 30 minutes long, in Zoom. All of that is handled by the software. Amazing, right? Except I like to see all my stuff in one place, especially if I'm doing all my work there inside of SmartSuite. So that's why I want to build an automation that takes this information once a new appointment is scheduled and plugs that into SmartSuite. More importantly, if I'm using Calendly with my team, meaning that multiple people are having meetings scheduled, I want to store all those meetings in one place. And that's what we're going to use SmartSuite for. So let's go ahead and hop on into it. The first thing I need is to create an application for contacts. So I'm going to rename this app right here to Contacts. I'm going to go ahead and hide all of the default fields here. All I care about in Contacts is going to be a first name, a last name, and an email address. So you have a choice here. You can use the full name field inside of SmartSuite. I love this field. It's really nice. Although sometimes I find that it doesn't quite work the way I want it to. And so I'm going to actually break out my two different fields. I'm going to have single line text here. Well, let's go with text. There we go. Single line text. I'm going to rename this one to first name. And I'm just going to create two different fields. So let's create that one. And I'm going to copy it over and create another one. And this one's going to be last name. There we go. And then I'm going to also create an email field. And this is all of the contact information I require. I'm going to come over here to title. I'm going to rename this to full name. And I'm going to allow it to be automatically generated, meaning I'm going to take information from other fields inside of SmartSuite to create this. So I'm going to take that first name and put a space, and then I'm going to take that last name and update the field. So what is this going to look like? Well, let's drop in some sample data. I'm going to put in my own name here, and I'll say test@example.com. And we need to give SmartSuite just a moment, but you see that it calculates that full name for us using the information in this record. So now I've got my contacts, but now I need to schedule my appointments. So let's go ahead and create a second application called Appointments, and we will set this one up. Again, I'm going to hide all of my default fields. I don't need those for this particular example, but the information that I do care about is going to come over from Calendly, specifically the information about the appointment. So I need to know what is the start date and time of the appointment, what is the duration of the appointment, who is the appointment scheduled with, all of this, right? All of this information is going to come from Calendly, and I want to map it up into here. So first thing I'm going to have is the date. And I'm going to just use a date field, a basic date field, and I'm going to have this be the start date. And of course, the display format here is perfectly fine. I'm going to say, yeah, I want to see it in standard format, but you can choose whatever you'd like, and let's add that field. Now I'm going to drop into my title here, and I'm going to uncheck the unique and required entry just to move this along. And then I'm going to also build a link to my contacts. So let's go ahead and link up. Here's my linked record. This is where I'm connecting to a different app. So I'm looking at my contacts in my Calendly example, and every single time that I have an appointment scheduled, I'm going to assume that it's only linked up to one contact. So for that reason, I will uncheck linking to multiple records, and I will add this field. So we could imagine then that if I had scheduled time with myself, which would be kind of weird, but I might say something like, let's go with a start date here. Maybe I scheduled time on the 26th at, let's go with 10 a.m. And the link to contacts would be just like this, a link here. We might also bring in the duration. We do have a duration field that we can include. So this would be either hours or minutes. So we might see something like 30 minutes. So let's drop that in here. And then lastly, we might have like a link to actually join the event. So I might include something like the URL here. I'll bring in the link and I'll rename this event link. This could be if we're meeting in Zoom or Google Meets, we want to share that link here inside of the app. I'll add the field here. And you can imagine there's all sorts of other things that we might include. Maybe we have a status field for the particular event. We also probably want to bring in one final thing, which is going to be that Calendly UUID. This I'm going to actually use a text field to collect. The UUID is a unique identification code for every single event that's created in Calendly. The reason we're going to use this is actually going to come in on part 2 of this video, where we look at how we handle cancellations and other different fringe cases. So for this purpose here today, I'm just going to label this in UUID, and I can say from Calendly here. And I'm going to add this field, and we'll get into the why in part 2. But now for part 1, let's just know that we want to put it here for now. All right, so this is the information that I want to capture. How do I get to work on this? Well, I'm going to go leverage make.com. Again, go ahead and follow along with me if you already have Make. If you don't, go ahead and sign up using our link, and you will get 30 days free on a pro plan. So for us, I'm going to start with Calendly. The idea is that Calendly is scheduled. Somebody schedules an event in Calendly. So if I look at Calendly, I have the watch events, which triggers when an event is created or canceled. I'm going to make this selection here, and I'm going to create a new hook for the purpose of this example. So this is going to be, well, first I have to choose the right connection. So let's make sure that I connect to my Calendly, not someone on my team. And in this case, the event I want is a creation. I don't want this to trigger off of a cancellation, only off of a creation. And I'm going to name this example for SmartSuite. and I can choose from a list here the organization URI, and for us, that's just our Calendly. So once you've synced up, you'll be able to see that. You can choose your user if you'd like, but you don't have to. For us, I'm going to choose the user because I've created this event and it's only for me. But if you have events that transcend your entire organization, you do not want to select a user. You want to keep it open for everyone. I'm going to go ahead and save this up now. And let's give this a test because I have this webhook now created. This is connecting Make to Calendly so that when a new event is added on my calendar through a Calendly link, it will trigger the automation. Let's prove it to ourselves by running this module. I'm going to run this module by right-clicking and choosing Run this module. And now I have to flip into Calendly. Here's my test event. I'm going to schedule some time. Let's go ahead and pick this. And I'll say test person, test at example.com. And here's what I'm sharing. So people can kind of give you a little inclination of what they want to meet about. Cool, let's schedule the event. Once that event is scheduled, boom, it's scheduled. And we see when we flip back to Make, it picked up that information. So here it is, all the information that we received from that event. Now it's time to plug this information into SmartSuite. But before I do, first I need to find that user in SmartSuite. Do they even exist already? Well, if they do, if they already exist in SmartSuite, then I need to link up with them, right? Because I want to keep a record of the fact that, hey, this person is scheduled with me multiple times. I need to know that. But if they don't exist in SmartSuite, then I need to create them and then link to them. So let's see if they exist. We're going to search SmartSuite. We'll look for the software here. There it is. Inside of SmartSuite, I am going to perform a search, which is find records. If I already know the ID of a record, I can perform get a record, but I don't know it. All I know about the record potentially is that I have an email address that I'm trying to map or a name. So using the find records will allow me to actually perform that search. So what's the solution? Well, I have a solution called Calendly example. Let's find it here. And I need to look inside of my contacts application inside of that solution. I only want to find one. So let's just come right down to the limit. I only ever want to have one person returned. I never want to return a bunch of people with the same email address. That doesn't make sense. What field am I looking at? Well, I have an email field. I love email because it is always unique. So I'm going to use that as my key to see if I already have somebody here. And then here's the value. This is where I can plug in the email that was used when signing up for this event. So there it is. I'm taking the email field that somebody gave me in Calendly when they signed up, and I'm looking for that email inside of SmartSuite. Will I find it? Well, in our example, in fact, I should, because if we flip back to SmartSuite, you'll see that in our contacts application, I already have someone named or with the email test@example.com. So flipping back into Make, you'll see that that is the same email that I used inside of the Calendly sign up. So I should find that contact. This is it. Let's go ahead and perform this search. I can right click on it and run this module. Remember, when I'm running a module independently, it's going to ask me in Make, hey, what's that information? Because you're just running this one module. So in this case, I'm looking up test@example.com. Am I able to find it inside of SmartSuite? Let's see. It performs a search, and what does it return? It returns this bundle. So yes, it was able to return a number of bundles. We told it don't ever find more than one, but it was able to find it, and it found this person by the name of Gareth Pronovost with this test@example.com email. This is the record inside of SmartSuite that we expected it to find. So great, it found it. What next? Well, here's where we're going to get into some pathing. There are two options. Either we found something or we did not. If we found something, great. We can move on and create the event. If we did not, well, then we need to break off. We need to branch, right? And this is why Make is so incredibly awesome. It's super easy to build pathing. I'm going to go down to Tools into Flow Control, and I'm going to select the router option and drag it right here. Now on my router, I'm going to go ahead and hit it twice, right? So I want two different options here. Option one is I found something. So I can come into this little gear or this wrench and I can set up a filter and I say, I found a contact. Cool. If I found a contact in the last operation, well then I just want to create a new consultation record. I need to create that appointment. I don't need to create a new contact because one already exists. So what is the condition for that filter? Well, in the last step, that is module 2, I have one bundle, meaning I found one thing. Total number of bundles is equal to 1. If it's equal to 1, that means I found something, and that's what I'm doing here. I found a contact. Cool. All right, so that's one option, but the other option is I did not find a contact. No contact found. And in this condition, we're going to need to create a contact and then create the appointment. No problem. So if my total number of bundles is equal to 0, then this will happen. So either one of those things is possible, and nothing else is possible. I want to point out that because of the fact that we limited this particular step to one bundle, well then, no other options exist. It's either going to return 1 or 0, and so those are my exhausted opportunities. So if I found the contact, I don't need to create a new one, but I do need to create the record inside of the appointment. So I'm going to create a record in SmartSuite using my SmartSuite connection, using my solution called Calendly example. And what am I going to add to this? Well, if you recall, in my appointments application, I built some pretty cool fields already in preparation. So what are those fields? Start date. What is the start date of this event? I have to go down to module 1 where we got the information from Calendly. Don't confuse the created at. This is when I set up the appointment. I want to know when is the appointment. So we have to scroll through and find the start time, which is listed right here. I can plug that in to my start date. Now I need to link to my contacts. Well, I found the contact. Remember, this particular path is I found a contact. So whoever that contact is in the previous step, well, I'm going to bring in the title from that contact right here. We found that contact in step 2, and we know we found them because we set up a filter accordingly. All right, what's the duration of this thing? Well, we should find somewhere here a duration of 30 minutes. Let's see if we can find it. I'm not seeing it. We definitely have an end time. Maybe Calendly does not give us that duration field. So instead, we could bring in the end time of the appointment. If we wanted to have a start and an end time, then we could calculate the duration. For us, I'll just leave that blank since I didn't build the end time field yet. I did add the event link. So this is going to be the actual Zoom link. And if I search Zoom here, you can see I've got a join URL that Make has received from Calendly. This is the actual Zoom URL that was created for this event. So I can just drop that right into my SmartSuite account so that I can get to my appointments more quickly, all from one place. Now, lastly, and very importantly, we need that UUID from Calendly. So this is the information that it's passing that is the unique ID for this particular event. We have a lot of different things, so it's definitely easy to get a little cross-eyed here, but I'm not seeing that UUID at first glance. So very often what we'll need to do is actually perform a search of Calendly to actually return all the information, because sometimes we don't get everything we need to know in the trigger. We can do that using a get. So if we were to just pop out of here just for a second, let me right click and add a module, and I'll look at Calendly. We can get an event, and when we perform this search, let me sync it up to my proper Calendly here. Once we're selected here, it's saying drop in the event URI. So if I come in here and I just search for URI, this is actually going to work just fine. This URI right here, it's actually a web address, it's a URL, but it's going to be able to be a unique identifier for this event, and I can use that in place of my UUID. So let's go ahead and X out here. I'm going to delete that extra module I just added, and I'm just going to use that URI as the unique identifier for the event. So back here, URI, let's drop it in. And there it is from my list. Feel pretty good about it. Let's click OK. So if we run this module, we're not going to, but if we did, it would create an appointment for us inside of our SmartSuite account based on that appointment that was scheduled in Calendly. But we're not quite done. because sometimes we don't find the contact, we have to create them. So if we don't have a contact inside a SmartSuite already, that is our second path. In this case, we need to create a record for that particular contact. So we go into the solution. Again, this is my Calendly example, but in this case, we're going to the contacts application, and I need to create the contact. What information do I have about the contact? Well, I have the first name. Let's find it from Calendly. It was test person that came over. So let's see, does it break it out for us as two different names? I have test person all as one name. So in this case, I would probably just want to drop it in as one first name and just not worry about the first and last. I'm going to just drop it in there in one place. I do have the email in a separate place. Remember to use the email that came from module 1 from Calendly, because in this case, we didn't find anything in module 2. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on the path of creating a new contact. So let's go ahead and drop in that email address. Now I've created my contact. We're good. I should also rename this. So let's right click and say create contact. And up here, I'll right click this and say create appointment. And now I'm going to clone this module, drop it on over here. And so in this case, I have to go in and just make a slight change because if you recall, here we linked to the contact that we found. But on this particular instance, I didn't find a contact. In fact, I had to create one. So in this case, I need to go down here to my contacts and remove this because step 2, this never found a contact. So get rid of that. And this time I'm going to say, well, that contact that we created in step 6, that's the one I want. Let's drop that in. Hope that made sense. If you have questions about this, drop them below because this can get a little confusing. But now moving on from here, we click OK. And now we are ready to save our event, save our automation. I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to rename it Calendly with SmartSuite Part 1. And let's go ahead and zoom out of here, save our changes, of course. Don't forget to save those changes. And we're going to give this a test run. So I head back over to my event link. Let's go ahead and copy the link, paste it, and start again. Now I'm going to schedule another event with myself, but I'm going to use a different name that does not already exist inside of our SmartSuite application. I'm going to schedule here for October 31st. This will be new test person, and this is test2 at example.com. This particular email address does not exist in our system, so we will create a new contact and a new appointment. Let's schedule the event, sit back, watch as Make does its magic, and hopefully we find a new contact popping in here and a new appointment popping in shortly. Now, if we grow impatient, as I often do, I'm going to flip back into Make, and I see that I ran into an error. This happens. Let's take a breath and analyze what happened. So inside of our particular example, let's go back into the history of this. What is the error? Well, it said that we set it up to say, consider this step a success. If nothing is found, we set that to false. It should be true. If we don't find a contact, that's okay. We built a contingency plan for that. So we need to go back in and fix this. Let's go into our diagram here, and we're going to drill into that particular module, and we need to find that little thing, that particular step. This is a Boolean, meaning it's either yes or no. Yes, this is a success. If we find nothing, that's okay. Now, we could have actually just created the SmartSuite record right here on this step. This would have saved us a lot of hassle. I should have done that, but, you know, I wanted to show you the router. It's fine. Let's go ahead and click OK here. We don't have to create the SmartSuite record here, although we could, because we already have that step happening right here. Nice to see that Make is making updates all the time and getting even faster to build these things on. But I'm going to resave this scenario. I'm going to turn it back on. I've got old data in here because I tried to run this automation. Let's process that old data and see what happens. I'm going to go back out here. Scenario was activated. It just ran. We can see that it successfully went down this path. It did not find a contact, hopefully created it, and hopefully created the appointment. Let's flip back into SmartSuite to verify. I've got a new contact named new test person. with an email of test2@example.com, and they are scheduled up for an appointment here. We see that the start date was brought in correctly. Oh, it's this one actually. Start date is brought in correctly, October 31st, linked up to new test person. I have an event link, so I can just click right here and go right to that event. And I have my unique identification ID from Calendly that I am going to use in future steps. Check in for part 2 when I show you how to handle cancellations and reschedules that can happen in Calendly as well. I know we went super fast in this video. There's a lot to cover. I hope you got a ton of value from it, but do drop questions you have below. And in the meantime, keep on building.